Oscar Leeser, a Democrat, said the emergency declaration would give city authorities the resources and ability to shelter migrants who have crossed the Mexican border. "We wanted to make sure people are treated with dignity. We want to make sure everyone is safe," Leeser told reporters. The move comes as El Paso, a Democratic stronghold with a history of welcoming immigrants, has struggled in recent months to deal with tens of thousands of migrants crossing the border with Mexico. The city is bracing for a possible jump in migrant arrivals after a U.S. judge ordered COVID-era border restrictions known as Title 42 to end by December 21st. A record number of migrants have been caught crossing the U.S.-Mexico border under President Joe Biden, a Democrat who took office in January 2021, fueling attacks by Republican opponents who favor tougher policies. U.S. border agents have encountered an average of more than 2,400 migrants per day in a 268-mile stretch of the border known as the El Paso sector over the past week, according to figures published by the city, a 40% increase compared with October. Even as government officials move migrants in El Paso to other U.S. cities, local shelters are beyond capacity and migrants have been sleeping on the streets as temperatures dip below freezing. Mario D'Agostino, El Paso's deputy city manager, said the emergency declaration will also provide the city with extra transportation options to bus migrants to other locations, and extra help from state law enforcement. As migrant arrivals increased in late August, the city launched a busing program that sent nearly 14,000 migrants to New York and Chicago, saying many Venezuelans were arriving without U.S. sponsors. The city halted the program in October when the Biden administration began expelling Venezuelans back to Mexico under Title 42. But could restart it if Venezuelans again are allowed to cross into El Paso, D'Agostino said on Thursday. The U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals for the District of Columbia on Friday denied an attempt by a group of U.S. states with Republican attorneys general to intervene in a lawsuit to keep Title 42 in place. The states could appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court.
Tennessee man accused of plot to kill FBI agents in latest January 6 charges. In the latest in an ever-growing list of criminal charges brought against January 6 rioters, a Tennessee man was arrested on Friday for allegedly plotting to kill the FBI agents who were investigating him. Kelly was already facing charges of assaulting an officer during his participation in the January 6 riots. Austin Carter, from Knoxville, Tennessee, was also arrested and charged for his involvement in the plot, according to the Justice Department. The two men allegedly had a list of 37 law enforcement agents they planned to assassinate, including the agents who arrested Kelly in May for his involvement in the January 6 attack and those who were present for a search of his home, reported the New York Times. An unnamed acquaintance, who alerted law enforcement to Kelly's plans, obtained the list from Carter, as well as a thumb drive from Kelly's home that showed a video of law enforcement officers approaching his home on the day of his arrest, according to court papers. The acquaintance also captured several recordings of Kelly and Carter talking about their assassination plans. At one point, Kelly asked the acquaintance to stash some stuff at his home, later clarifying that he meant weapons and ammunition. Kelly also told the acquaintance he planned to recruit people to attack the FBI's Knoxville office, according to the papers. Carter allegedly told the acquaintance about his plans to participate in Kelly's plot, urging the acquaintance to definitely make sure you got everything racked, locked up and loaded. Also on Friday, another January 6 rioter who is a QAnon supporter and self-described poster boy of the insurrection was sentenced to 5 years in prison. Douglas Jensen, 43, of Iowa was sentenced to 60 months, after a judge ruled that he had led rioters into the breached Capitol building and toward the police officer Eugene Goodman, actions that could have led to mass death, reported the Washington Post. The developments are just the latest in a meticulous and effective law enforcement investigation that has aimed to hold the January 6 attackers to account. As of December 7, 964 people had been arrested for their involvement in the insurrection, charged with a number of crimes including assault on an officer, destruction of government property and theft, reported Insider. The list of those arrested for their involvement is expected to grow as the FBI continues to look through media and footage from the Capitol attacks. The longest sentence to date has been for former the NYPD officer Thomas Webster, who got 10 years in prison in September after a judge ruled he assaulted an officer with a metal flagpole when the officer tried to defend the Capitol. Meanwhile, the separate House investigation into the attacks is aiming to issue its formal recommendations on Monday. It is reportedly considering several criminal referrals against Donald Trump, which could include suggested charges of obstruction of an official proceeding of Congress and conspiracy to defraud the United States.
Los Angeles mountain lion P22, the Hollywood cat, euthanized due to injuries and poor health. P22, the celebrity mountain lion known as the Hollywood cat because he famously roamed the Hollywood Hills of Los Angeles for over a decade, has died, state wildlife officials announced Saturday. The beloved animal, who helped raise awareness for California's big cat population, was compassionately euthanized after he was discovered with chronic health issues and severe injuries from what officials believe was a vehicle strike, the California Department of Fish and Wildlife reported. P22's advanced age, combined with chronic, debilitating, life-shortening conditions and the clear need for extensive long-term veterinary intervention left P22 with no hope for a positive outcome, the department said in a news release. Medical staff attending to P22 pulled out all the stops in an effort to save him. But ultimately, his conditions were too dire, CDFW Director Chuck Bonham said in a news conference Saturday. I made the decision that the right thing to do was to bring peace now, rather than have P22 continue through what would not have been acceptable from a compassionate level, in my mind, Bonham said. P22, who was estimated to be around 12 years old, had recently appeared to be exhibiting signs of distress, killing a leashed pet, and attacking others. The behavior led CDFW officials to decide that he needed to be captured and evaluated, which they did in a backyard in the Los Feliz neighborhood. Later, officials received a tip that the cat may have been hit by a vehicle. After medical staff at the San Diego Zoo Safari Park performed tests and scans on the feline, they came to the conclusion that P22 would be euthanized due to his seriously deteriorated health. The tests showed he had significant trauma to his head, right eye, and internal organs, CDFW said. The tests also showed pre-existing illnesses including kidney disease, chronic weight loss, a parasitic skin infection and localized arthritis. This really hurts, and I know that, Bonham said, fighting tears. It's been an incredibly difficult several days. And for myself, I've got the entire weight of the city of LA on my shoulders. The agency disclosed that it would not look into the details of the vehicle collision, as it was not believed to be the fault of P22 or of the driver. It is an eventuality that arises from habitat loss and fragmentation, the CDFW said. It underscores the need for thoughtful construction of wildlife crossings and well-planned spaces that provide wild animals room to roam. State wildlife officials first captured and collared P22 in March 2012, when he was believed to be about 2 years old, according to the National Park Service. He is one of close to 100 mountain lions which NPS biologists have been tracking and studying since 2002 to better understand the wild mountain lion and big cat population. According to NPS, at least 25 mountain lions have been fatally struck by vehicles over that time. P22 showed us what mountain lions must do to survive in our urban landscape, as he dispersed through it to find a remaining island of habitat, NPS said in a statement. Beth Pratt, California Regional Executive Director for the nonprofit National Wildlife Federation, wrote a heartfelt eulogy for the feline on Saturday, saying he changed us. It's hard to imagine I will be writing about P22 in the past tense now, Pratt wrote. We will all be grappling with the loss of P22 for some time, trying to make sense of a Los Angeles without this magnificent wild creature. P22 inspired positive change for wildlife in Southern California, she wrote. He is often given credit for the $87 million Wallace-Annenberg wildlife crossing over the 101 freeway in the Agora Hills. When complete, it will allow animals to roam more freely without the threat of being hit by cars. He showed people around the world that we need to ensure our roads, highways, and communities are better and safer when people and wildlife can freely travel to find food, shelter, and families, Pratt said.